Good. Right, bear with. Meditation's coming. I just have to do a few things to get organized. I'm not just randomly looking at my iPad. There's a reason. What am I doing? Oh, yeah. Okay, nearly there for this bit. Good. Now, let me get a bit of light on the subject. Pull this a bit closer without pulling the camera down on top of myself. Oh, yeah, good. Right, now, if you're on Facebook, I've got to turn you off and turn you on again for a minute. If you're on Instagram and you want to do these meditations more regularly, I encourage you to start to shift over to YouTube, because you'll get notifications when I get live. You won't have to wait. So yeah, Facebook, back in a minute. Okay, so that should be good now. So how are you on this, what are we today, Friday? It's a bit like that, isn't it? What day is it? I hope you're well. I hope it's going well. It's fine if it's not. It's very understandable if it's not, but I hope it's going well. I'll just put for a minute there. Did I put the mic in? Yes, I did. Okay, so it's been that sort of a day. We're going to do a bit of meditation. This isn't a class. It's just a chance to meditate together. It's part of the further emergence work I do. I'll explain all about further emergence at the end. But for now, if you are familiar with meditation, if you're used to meditation, if you've got a little meditation practice going on or a big meditation practice going on, brilliant! Can you hang on though while I just explain what I do for the benefit of people who are new to meditation? There's lots of different types of meditation. This is what I do. For me, it starts with why I would meditate. I'm trying to connect to a part of myself that I connect to every night when I go to sleep. Not the dreaming bit, the bit after dreaming. The bit after dreaming. You know, the deep dreamless sleep bits. You know, so I'm dreaming and then I drop at the bottom and dreaming into deep dreamless sleep where I have no thoughts, no mind, no emotions, no memories, no feelings, no personality, no body, really. No bed, no bedroom, no nothing. I don't even have me, because I cease to exist, certainly in the way I normally register my existence. So that sounds awful, doesn't it? It sounds like death when you add it all up. It doesn't sound like a place you'd want to go, and yet I love going to sleep, and when I wake up in the morning I feel refreshed. So some part of me knows that wherever I go, it's a good place. That's where I want to go to when I meditate. I just want to do it consciously. So straight away, if you're new to meditation, don't try this lying down, because the chances are you will fall asleep, and if you don't fall asleep, the chances are you'll battle sleep, both of which are very contrary to what you're trying to do, and they're very distracting. So I'd encourage you to sit up. You don't have to sit in a lotus position unless you're very comfortable sitting in a lotus position, in which case good for you and far ahead. I'm just sitting in a chair. If you're sitting in a chair, don't sit in a super comfortable chair like a big armchair, because then you'll be into the whole sleep thing again. So a slightly uncomfortable chair. Alright, so as I said, I've no thoughts there, no mind. It's like a place, this place I want to go to, it's like my mind can't get there. It has to wait at the border for some reason, can't get there. So I have to make an arrangement with my mind. I have to work out a way of working with my mind. So I make an arrangement where I go, can you just not think for the next 15 minutes because I want to meditate? And my mind is on board for that at this stage. And it's important to have your mind on board. My mind is like, yeah, okay, that's fine, I can do that. Wasn't always the case. It is something that you can encounter a bit of resistance with, particularly if you're trying to meditate regularly. If this is the first time you ever tried meditation, there won't be any problem because it's a new thing, and minds like new things. It's only a problem if you're Having your mind on board is only a different problem if you're trying to do it regularly. So if you're having a problem with that, I can talk about that at the end. But for now, we'll just say mind on board. Good. Next thing, stop thinking. Not that hard. Not as hard as you'd think. It's not that hard to stop. Because regardless of what I'm thinking about, which would be the content of my thoughts, the structure of my thoughts, it's always the same. It's always pictures and sound. So if I turn off the pictures and I turn off the sound, that's it. I'm not thinking. And as soon as I do that, I'm into the practice of meditation. Now, the practice of meditation runs parallel with the intention of meditation. So the intention of meditation is, as I said, to go to this deep, mysterious, profound, beautiful, calm, peaceful, Zen-like, all those other, I'm just trying to think of all the other words that I use to describe meditation. That place, I want to go to that place. The practice of meditation runs parallel with it. And it pretty much starts as soon as I stop thinking, the practice of meditation. And it generally goes, I'll turn off the pictures, turn off the sound, I'll bring myself to not thinking. Then some time will pass, I'll discover I'm thinking again. I'll go, I'm thinking again, fine. Turn off the pictures, turn off the sound, bring myself back to not thinking. Then some more time will pass, I'll discover I'm thinking again. I'm thinking again, fine. Turn off the pictures, turn off the sound, bring myself back to not thinking. Then some more time will pass, I'll discover I'm thinking again, and so on. So it's pretty simple. Every time you discover that you're thinking, you bring yourself back to not thinking. If you do that, you're doing great. And it's important to note that. It's important to note that thinking can happen in meditation, because it's easy to get the misconception that to meditate correctly, you shouldn't be thinking at all, which isn't the case. These two things, the intention of my meditation and the practice, they go together, and they do a sort of a little dance. Sometimes I'll be very deep and still. Other times I'll be discovering that I'm thinking. And one isn't any more correct than the other, and both are powerful in their own way. It's very powerful, obviously, when you're in that very deep, still kind of place. You can feel the changes in your nervous system. You can feel your system settling down. It's also very powerful when you're discovering that you're thinking. And it's important to know that and not get into a kind of frustration of like, I'm thinking again, I'm supposed to be not thinking. It doesn't work like that, because the power in discovering that you're thinking is subtle, but it is very powerful. Because what happens is, if you're in the middle, if you're like me, right, the sort of things that you think about are all to do with you. Meaning, I'll be thinking about, why did I say that? What am I going to do about that thing? Why did that person say that thing to me? Those kind of thoughts. Now, if I'm in the middle of meditation and I'm in the middle of one of those kind of thoughts, and I go, thinking, turn off the pictures, turn off the sound, bring myself back to not thinking. Indirectly, what I'm saying to myself and demonstrating to myself is, that thought that you had, that you thought was you and that you were it, well, you just made it disappear. You made it just, poof, gone. So you're obviously not that thought. In fact, you're not any of your thoughts. You're something else. That's very powerful. And then the fact that you do that regularly or repeatedly is very powerful as well. So don't get into judging yourself, and don't let your mind get involved in it. Because if you're thinking that you're not doing this very well, that's just another thought to turn off, get rid of the pictures, get rid of the sound. And there's no right amount of times that you should be bringing yourself back from thinking. Because it changes every day, and it changes every hour. So you could meditate in the morning and have to bring yourself back from thinking a lot, loads of times. And then you could meditate in the afternoon, and you mightn't have to bring yourself back from thinking that much at all. One's not better than the other. One meditation is not better than the other. Okay. So the main thing is the golden rule. Every time you discover that you're thinking, bring yourself back to not thinking. If you do that, you're doing great. Okay, so while that's all going on, I'm also letting go of tension in my body. And I do that by scanning my body from my head down to my feet, back up again, very slowly, very gently. Anywhere I find tension, I let it go. And I use my out breath to let the tension go, because it's natural to just breathe it away. But it's also a good way of bringing a bit more awareness to my breathing, because crazy as it sounds, it's quite easy to actually hold your breath in meditation. With all the mind stuff that you're doing, it's quite easy to kind of forget about your body, hold your breath, or stop breathing altogether. So using my out breath to let go of the tension is a good way of keeping myself aware of my breath. Also, as I'm scanning my body, I'm spending a little bit more time on any structures in my body that go across or transverse. Mostly my body runs longitudinally, head to toe. But anywhere that goes across operates a little bit like a log going across a stream. It picks up all the leaves and the twigs and the branches, anything that's coming down the stream. Except in my body, that's tension. So I'm checking my eyes. They're a transverse site. I'm spending a bit more time there. My jaw, my tongue, the base of my neck, my shoulder girdle, all my joints, they're transverse sites. So my shoulders, elbows, wrists, fingers, my heart area, my respiratory diaphragm, all my intestines, my pelvic floor, my hips, my knees, my ankles, and my toes. Having a nice quiet room is very helpful when you're starting out in meditation, because one of the things that happens when you close your eyes, your hearing amplifies, and one of the things that triggers thoughts is noise. So the quieter the room, the less disturbance you have, the less things there'll be to trigger your thoughts. And one of the other things I do to help my mind have less thoughts is I set a timer for how long I'm going to meditate for. So I'm going to set my timer for 15 minutes, but I'd encourage you, if you're new, to set yours for 5 minutes and then repeat that 3 times, because 15 minutes is a long time if you're not used to it. Okay, so timer started. Off we go into the mystery. Okay, if you feel like you've gone very deeply inside, if you just take a bit of time before you come back from there, before you open your eyes, that'd be good. Or you might feel like you can hold the inner space and the outer space at the same time, in which case you can just open your eyes. And if when you do that you feel like you've lost connection with the inner space, you just close your eyes again, reconnect with it. Oh yeah, there it is. Open your eyes again. No, lost it again. Close your eyes. You know, you can use your eyes like a valve to balance the inner space and the outer space. So as I said at the beginning, these meditations I do are part of the Further Emergence work. Further Emergence is to do with growth, really, inner growth, growth in consciousness, growth in awareness. You could call it spiritual growth if you wanted to put that on it. Growth in awareness, you know, that kind of growth. Because your body pretty much stops growing and switches into replicating itself once you become an adult. But you continue to grow on the inside. That doesn't stop. And if you think about like when you were growing up as a child and you became an adult, and then you think about your inner growth, you know, if you kept growing on the inside the way your body had, you'd be huge now. Because, you know, depending on what age you are, it doesn't stop. The growth keeps going, you know. Like, this is the wisest you're ever going to be. Like, when you think about all the other things to do with outer stuff, like your body, you know, maybe, you know, if you're in your 60s or 70s, you're certainly not the freshest and most vibrant you have been, you know. You kind of, your body goes through a kind of prime. But this, wherever you are now, this is the wisest you've ever been. That's just like an indicator of that, where the growth keeps going. You only have to think back to who you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago to see the growth. So just like when your body was growing, you might have gone through periods of accelerated growth. You know, they're called growth spurts. You go through those as well on the inside, and they keep going for the rest of your life as well. So no, you know, usually the growth is kind of steady, and then it can just speed up. And just like you would have gone through a growth spurt when you were a child. The difference is, or the difficulty is, when you were a child and you were going through a growth spurt and you went to your parents and said, I've got some pains, and they said, oh, they're just growing pains, it'll be all right, they'll pass. It's not like they rushed you to hospital or brought you to the doctor or brought you to see somebody because you were broken. They would have just said, no, it's just a natural thing, it'll pass. It's uncomfortable, it's difficult, but it'll pass. That's a much harder thing to realize and be with inner growth spurts, because they have their own attendant pains as well, depending on the person, depending on how much of a growth spurt you're going through. Sometimes it can be just mild. You can have just a feeling of things changing fast. Other times it can be really disorienting. Like, I can remember when I was a kid, you could tell who'd gone through a growth spurt on the road, because, you know, if it was a little boy, his trousers, the ends of his trousers, you know, would have gone from his ankles like, you'd see this gap, you know, his parents hadn't bought him a new pair of pants yet. It can feel like that on the inside, you know, that you're suddenly very constricted because you've grown so much, and your life can look weird to you, can look alien. I'm telling you all this from my personal experience. I've been through this loads of times, and I've helped loads of people through it as well. And it can be, you know, like one of the hallmarks of these kind of inner growth spurts, which is the focus of Further Emergence. I mean, all growth, really, inner growth is you know, covered with Further Emergence, but particularly the growth spurts, because to sort of help you see that it's just a natural thing, and that it will pass, and that the difficulty is you're not broken. Which is nice to hear, isn't it? You're not broken. So as I say, you going into these growth spurts can be very sudden. You know, like I can remember a woman telling me one time, as she said, John, it's a terrible thing to wake up one morning and realize you've got 5 kids. Which I think is a really good example of what it can feel like with Further Emergence. almost overnight you can feel like you don't recognize your life anymore, or how you got there, and who you are. You can't recognize who you are, you know. So the meditations help, because meditation is a great tool for becoming more familiar with your inner landscape. And the more familiar you are with your inner landscape, the easier it is to navigate these difficult growth spurts. I also, we have a sort of further emergence gathering or Zoom group, where you can kind of meditate a bit more deeply and go into it a bit more deeply, and you can ask questions and get reflection, and take a bit of a pause really from the turmoil, and give it some time to kind of look at it, what's actually going on, hear other people, hear what's going on for them, hear what I have to say, see that there are other people going through this, and it's quite similar to what you might be going through. That's all very helpful, you know. So up to this, we've been doing them every Friday. So there's one today, one this evening at 8 o'clock Irish time, which is, well, you'll have to look up Irish time. But I'm going to shift those to Saturdays. And up to this, it's been every week. It's going to shift that to every second week, and they'll be a bit longer. And they'll be at a different time. They'll be later, or well, earlier in the day. So it'd be kind of like Saturday morning if you're in America. You know, it might be early Saturday morning, and it would be Saturday kind of afternoon if you're in Europe and that side of things. And I haven't a clue what time it would be in Australia. Hopefully not the middle of the night. So they'll be a bit longer, a bit deeper. So there's that. What else? I do one-to-ones. I work with people one-to-one as well. And that's really because when you're going through further emergence, it's very different for each person. Each person goes through such a different experience. The underlying thing is still the same. It's still a growth spurt, an inner growth spurt. But the one-to-ones are a chance to give very specific feedback, to be heard in a very specific way as well. And then I also do, I was a craniosacral therapist for many years, and you can do that kind of work remotely as well. I don't like to call it craniosacral because it's hard enough to, just explaining what craniosacral is when you're doing it in person. So I'll just say I work with the people remotely as well to help their system integrate, balance, and harmonize the whole process as well. In those one-to-one sessions. I've written a couple of books. I've written 4 books actually, all around the subject of further emergence. So they're the only things you have to pay for. Everything else is free, and then it's just donations and Patreon and, you know, just support if you think what I'm doing is good and it's helpful. So yeah, there's lots there. And if you're still watching, you've watched all the way, if you're still with me, maybe something is resonating with you. Maybe there's a little voice going, there's something to this. And what I'd encourage you to do is, yeah, just keep listening to that voice. That voice will tell you what to do. It'll know what to do. Whether it's, okay, never watch this guy again. It might be saying that, and that's fine. Or it might be saying, yeah, let's do some more of these meditations. They're Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I was doing them every day, but that was too much for me. I meditate during the week. I meditate during the day all the time myself anyway, but doing this multi-streaming thing is too much every day. So Monday, Wednesday and Friday at roughly the same time as today. So that voice might be saying, yeah, just do the meditations. Or it might be saying, yeah, those group things sound interesting. In which case, you can look at videos of previous ones to get an idea what they're like. They're all pretty anonymous. Most people don't come on camera. Some do, but mostly it's pretty anonymous. You can just tune in. And when you come to them, they're good to come to because you energetically connect with everybody, and that's very helpful with your system because it's inner stuff. It's powerful, so connecting with other people is helpful. But you can watch the videos and see what they're like, or you can listen to the podcast. The podcast is the audio version of those groups. Or so that voice might be saying, yeah, let's watch some of those videos, or let's listen to that podcast. Or it might be saying, no, let's just get in touch with him and let's get some of that one-to-one thing going. That sounded good. I don't see many people. I do that twice a week, and I can only see like a maximum of 8 people a week. So there's not. You might have to wait a little bit on that one. Or I might be saying, yeah, let's read one of those books. Or none of the above, as I said. It'll know what to do. That part of you will know what to do. So, thanks very much for meditating with me, and I'll see you, what are we today? Friday. I'll see you Monday for some more meditation. Bye. Oh, thanks, Marnie. Thank you, John. I appreciate your gentle encouragement. Yeah, great. Well, thank you. I appreciate you showing up. Okay, so, but, and if you didn't catch it, I'm sort of encouraging everyone to go to YouTube, because with YouTube you get notifications of when I go live, because I'm trying to do it at the same time, but not always. So you kind of get a little notification, and there's always going to be a little countdown, 15-minute countdown. So you go to YouTube, subscribe,